Hi guys, I was in the middle of doing another video, but I saw the design preview of the Skull Merchant, and as a long time Skull Merchant fan, I'm doing an emergency video to give my thoughts on it. God knows what the background footage is going to be, because it sure as heck won't be me playing Skull Merchant in the train wreck of a state that she's currently in. Just a very brief background so you know where I stand with the killer. I love the OG version of Skull Merchant the most, so that was the one before the haste, and then every subsequent change made to her has progressively made her worse in my opinion. What made her fun was her stealth, her tracking abilities, and her add-on variety. I've not really enjoyed her since the major overhaul where her power got turned into laser tagging simulator, that being scanning your drone over a survivor as much as you could to get the injure and then 2-tap them. I'm just gonna say it, laser tagging blows, and it's one of the least enjoyable things I've ever done in this game. I'm sorry Pixel Bush, but pulling my iPad out to scan back and forth over a survivor just isn't engaging at all to me and never has been. The removal of claw traps as a tracking method never sat right with me either, and a lot of her fun add-ons were gutted with the rework too, such as the status effects ones being changed from being scanned by a drone to having a claw trap on you. For example, the exhaustion add-on that used to activate when a survivor stood in an active zone for any amount of time. This made it the perfect counter to things like Dead Hard and Lithe, whereas now they've been exhausted for 15 minutes before they've even got a claw trap on them, making the add-on completely worthless. I did find fun, however, in using her as a stealth killer and just throwing drones everywhere for the passive info while I stealthed around the map. You know, until they butchered the add-on that made the playstyle viable versus good teams, while simultaneously adding in a bug where drones stopped rotating a whole 2 weeks after the rework, which that bug has still yet to be addressed by the way. So to me, OG Skull Merchant with active drones was the most fun. Reworked Scully lost a lot of the magic and identity of her, but the stealth is still the consistently most fun thing in her kit. So the too long didn't read. The proposed changes remove lock-on, they've removed the old drone and the new drone style, they've removed the decent stealth aspects from her kit, they've removed the useful information aspects from her kit, they've buffed hacking drones for some reason, turned her into another dash killer, and added one of the stupidest mechanics I've ever seen in my entire life. So let's get into it. First we're going to start with the drones. She still has 5 of those bad boys. She's getting her 2 scan lines back as well, but they're going to look different. If you're like me, you probably saw this preview and thought, "What the fuck is that?" Basically, this is how it looks with the scan lines at the moment. It's going to look like this instead. So the green is what the survivors are actually going to see of the scan lines, but the range is going to be unchanged from where they are at the moment. They've removed the visual indicator of the zone on the floor as well, meaning you might actually be able to catch people out with them again. Not a terrible change. All scanning does to a survivor now, however, is reveal them on your radar. No more lock-on in any capacity for scanning. They're purely informational. Next thing to do with her drones is she can now control them remotely. Doing so makes her undetectable. Geez, never heard of this power before. Groundbreaking stuff here. It seems that the drone will have a battery on a per drone basis, and then you can use it to reposition the drones remotely. Also, for a bit of battery consumption, you can charge the power and send it towards a location at high speed, and if it hits a survivor, they will lose a health state. If it hits a wall, it will break. So basically, it's a dash ability. Now, I'm not inherently against this design because I thought it would have been cool to control our drones for a while now, but at the same time, it's basically just another dash killer and one that can't hug. How many times behavior are you going to implement a dash power before you realize if the killer can't hug a wall with it, it's basically useless? The only reason that Blight is an exception is because the power is used for map pressure and he can have 7 wall collisions with it, allowing him to play towers effectively. The drones being unable to hug walls and then destroying themselves if they do collide with a wall will probably render them pretty much worthless. Also, what will the speed of these things be? Can they go over low wall tiles, or will they be subjected to invisible walls? Because if they can go over small wall loops, then they might actually be pretty decent. So many questions we need some more answers to. So we're going to leave that one on the back burner. However, the statement that they made alongside these changes is worrying to say the least. Using technology to hunt her prey is a core to Skull Merchant's identity, and so it's important that we stay true to that. We've opted to remove many of the background effect: hindered, haste, lock-on, claw trap. Behavior, listen to me. No one gives a flying toss about the lore of the killer when they think about their identity. They think of the things associated with the gameplay. For example, I'm a Sadako main, and Sadako's identity to me and many other Sadakos is her condemn mechanic and her macro gameplay. That's what makes Sadako unique. Skull Merchant's was her stealth, her territorial control, her drone management, and her add-on variety, at least to me. Using technology to hunt her prey is a core to Skull Merchant's identity is such a terrible statement because it means nothing. By that logic, Singularity is basically the Skull Merchant's entire identity because he uses technology in his power and in his counterplay. I know why you said it. It's because you're trying to force this idea of what you think her identity is on everyone else, being that she uses her drones. And to you, it doesn't matter what those drones do, she will still be the Skull Merchant, when that simply just is not true. You've deleted the claw traps and you've deleted the lock-on mechanics in their entirety. Both of these are very core aspects to her identity, and you've just deleted them from existence. That would be like removing Sadako's condemn mechanics, or TVs, or Pig's head traps, or Chucky's scamper. Oh wait, you've just nuked her entire identity. There's no beating around the bush here. This is not Skull Merchant anymore. This is the Drone Merchant now, because pretty much every mechanic that was pivotal to her gameplay and identity is gone, and it's been replaced with something else. And before someone says it, her identity being replaced isn't even my main issue here. My issue is that behavior is trying to gaslight us into thinking that they haven't changed her identity with these changes, when I'm sorry, you just have. Just own it, behavior. Don't try to pretend like you're being the good guys here by changing her and keeping her identity, because you just simply aren't. You're just uprooting her entire identity. Let's move on, shall we, to the drone hacking. They buffed it for some reason, so now if a survivor fails a hack, they're revealed by Killer Instinct and can't hack for a little bit, and if they successfully hack a drone, the survivor will see the Skull Merchant's aura. What the fuck is this behavior?
Just stop! Just stop it! Stop! No! Just stop it!
Hacking a drone is so brain dead easy. Anyone outside of toilet tier, bottom of the barrel MMR does the Dance Dance Revolution minigame in a matter of seconds. The only time you would fail it is if the Skull Merchant interrupts you. So now the reward for interrupting a survivor as the Skull Merchant is seeing their aura, which you don't need because you're already up their ass to interrupt them in the first place. And their reward for hacking the drone, which is free to do, is not only deleting your drone power, but giving your position away to them. You've literally just given her the Sadako special where you make the counterplay completely overpowered. What are you thinking? Survivor's reward for killer power interactions should be that they're safe from the killer power, not that they're safe from the power and oh by the way you actually buffed it. Like, what are you doing? You just had to revert alien changes because the counterplay was too powerful. How many times are you going to make this mistake before you actually learn from it? Holy shit. The last thing we have is the new red light green light power. Basically, she'll have a new ability where once it's charged, all the survivors are going to hear a noise, and if they're running when the power activates, they'll be revealed on the radar. So let me get this straight. It's a power that's designed to give Skull Merchant info on if a survivor is moving, and the survivors get full information it's about to happen, so it can negate the entire effect. Not only that, but it only reveals on the radar. Doesn't show their aura, or Killer Instinct, or something actually useful on the radar which you might be able to use consistently in Chase for info, for example. So it's literally the Doctor's shock power that doesn't interrupt things and has the very difficult counterplay of crouching to move somewhere or standing still instead of jumping into a locker. So it's going to be actually useless for finding people. And that's it. She's lost her entire identity for a Temu Doctor shot, a dash power and stealth drones. But don't worry, it's still the identity of the Skull Merchant because she uses technology. If you want to actually improve this behavior, bring stealth back into a kit in a meaningful, actual usable way. Remove the rewards for hacking the drone for the survivor because that's just a beyond moronic mechanic, and make it so her drones can hug tech. Also, stop gaslighting the Skull Merchant plays into trying to act like you haven't just uprooted her entire identity, and then we'll see how the twins with drones go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now, gamers.